right, Superstar has hit the stage at the Corbett Theatre.
We have news for men's and women's basketball transfers.
And the foundation and impact of FUEL NKU, which is the campus pantry. We're going to have all this and much more coming up right here on The Northerner Now, which is your rundown of everything happening on campus and in the Northern Kentucky region. I'll be your host. I'm Emily Sisk, Editor-in-Chief for The Northerner.
I'm Alex Perez, Sports Co-Editor here at The Northerner.
And I'm Jacob Staley, the other co-sports editor.
Awesome. And we will also have our photo editor, Adeline McCollum. She'll be joining us here in just a little bit, so you'll want to stick around and hear what she has to say as well. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in with what's happening in the news. So as I mentioned there in our intro, FUEL NKU is basically the campus food pantry. Now, they have a lot more than just food, but this story was all about the roots and just the impact of FUEL NKU. This was written by one of our contributors, Adam Worku.
And FUEL had humble beginnings. It started as a small shelf inside a faculty member's office, and now its home is in the Albright Health Center, which is connected to the campus rec center.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. It only began like just over a decade ago, but I can't even imagine it being a
Not
small
there.
shelf right
Yeah.
now, like, because it's like you said, I mean, it's got its entire space dedicated to it. So like I mentioned, they offer, I mean, pretty much everything, all the way from groceries, any kind of food that you would need. I mean, fresh produce, canned goods, meat, like all that kind of stuff. But then also like hygienic, cosmetic, any health products and stuff like that. The best part of it all is that it's totally free. All you have to do when you walk in is just swipe your student ID. And, you know, it's also... one of the students that was quoted in the story talked about how when, you know, she first got here, she kind of felt a little uneasy about going to visit because she thought that maybe you need to be like of a certain need level to go visit it, which is the case obviously with most food pantries. But here at NKU, that's really not the case. And in fact, they honestly want as many people as possible to keep coming to it so that way they can like show the demand that they have for it.
They definitely encourage others to come, and then just to kind of quantify the impact that they have. In the last academic year, FUEL distributed more than 135,000 pounds of food and hygiene products. That's an insane number.
It is. It's actually insane. I need like something to like rationalize what that looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't even know, like 135,000 pounds. That's crazy. So, okay, I wanted to ask you guys, first of all, have you visited FUEL? Maybe what is like the best thing that you've gotten from there? Because there's such a range of like stuff you could possibly get.
There's so much good stuff, but I am a sweets person myself, so any chance I get to go have a snack, I will go get one. And they do have a Girl Scout cookie sometimes, so I definitely take advantage of it when
Those
they do.
Those are very popular,
For
too.
sure.
I've heard that they get, like, snatched up as
really
soon as
quick,
they get them. Yes.
Yeah, and I would, I've been to FUEL a couple times, but I think the funniest thing I got was a whole cake.
Literally.
It was like your simple Kroger cake, but it was good.
Yes.
I thought it was hilarious. So I'm like, that's a whole cake.
Just take a whole cake.
And I'm like, okay, I guess it is what it is.
Which would normally be like $20 at the
For
grocery
sure,
store.
yeah.
They're like,
expensive.
Right. Yeah, I know.
And you get it for free, which is great, really.
Yeah.
What about you, Emily?
Well, I would have to say my favorite. I've multiple occasions I've gotten just like a whole rotisserie chicken,
Nice.
which, you know, saves me at least like $5-6 from the grocery store, and you can literally make so much food out of it because, you know, I just live by myself, so like
For sure.
I always see the cakes and I'm like, you know, I was like, I don't think there's any way that I can personally eat an entire cake. I was like, maybe if I lived with like a whole family of people, maybe, but yeah, they have so much good stuff. So like I said, feel free to go check out more about that article. Adam got to talk to, you know, students who shop there. You know, they have tons of student volunteers, and she talked to the director and the program coordinator, really gave every perspective about how this really got started and what it's doing now. So that was an awesome article. And then, as we mentioned so many times last week, we have a new magazine, and it is here. Just want to show it off a little bit of what it looks like because we are super proud of it. And so for our news section, one of our key news stories that was in this magazine, it's all about housing. And we, you know, kind of teased it a little bit last week, but just to get a bit more into it, basically, I wrote this article in accompaniment with Henry Crawford, and we selected like 5 different students who all live in different housing situations, and basically just had a Q&A with them. Like, we asked them all the same questions, but we saw based on their situation. So like one person lives in Norse Hall, which is and housing in the dorms. 2 people commuted from home with their families, and then 2 lived in off-campus apartments. And just trying to see how, even if you ask the same thing, how their different circumstances create different answers. It was really interesting.
Yeah, it was so interesting to find out in this story, like the main factor that it came down to with these people was money, which is understandable, especially for college students.
Yeah, that's what I was like, would you all, I'm curious how much like their experiences, like how much that would resonate with people. Like, would you all agree, like your main factor when you consider housing is money?
For sure.
I would say so, yeah. Commuting is
so.
much cheaper, so that's, if you have to pay for it, then I would say that is the best option for sure.
I agree. There was one of the students who lives right now in Northern View off campus. I really related to him because he started out living in university housing, which I did as well. I know, Alex, you did too. And then ended up making the decision to go off campus to an apartment because of the money factor. Like, yeah, it's super nice being right here on campus, but when you're saving like so much money, because it is, depending on where you go, can be like significantly cheaper.
For sure.
That's something that you have to consider. So that was a really insightful article. A lot of them, there were several questions that were asked just to kind of understand their different experiences. We also talked about like their daily commute. What is that like based on where you live? That ranged from, just walking to class if you lived on campus, all the way to, taking the bus and then even driving. One of the students said, with traffic, sometimes that can be like a 45-minute drive. So I wanted to ask you guys, because I think we kind of have different answers or different experiences. What is our commute like from where we live?
Yeah, for me, I am very lucky. I got the closest apartment to campus without it actually being like apartment campus housing. So it's a much more economic option. So my commute's not bad. It's a 5-minute car ride and basically not even that, shorter than that.
Yeah, that's super nice.
And I live at home, but my commute's like 30 minutes.
Okay.
With traffic, it'll vary like 35, 40 minutes, which, I mean, you don't see much traffic really, but my commute's not bad at all. Yeah. Smooth all the way here, so I mean, 30 minutes isn't bad for me though.
Why does 30 minutes feel like so much to me though?
It does sound like a lot. I'm like, that's a long way.
Well, I'm like 30 minutes from everywhere.
I was gonna say, I feel like once I moved up here, it's like everything is at least 30 minutes. Yeah. You want to go to Florence, that's 30 minutes. You want to go up to Cincinnati, like it's all 30 minutes. Whereas back home, 30 minutes was like a trip, like a whole like trek. Yes. So where I live in Alexandria, it's like, it can range from like 10 to 15 minutes. Like usually I can get to class within like 12 minutes, which kind of in the middle of y'all's basically. It's really not bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah. All right. So again, that was just a peek at our news section. Would encourage you all to check out that magazine, check out the stories about what's happening with the news. And then we're going to move on to coming events, what's coming up around campus.
Yeah. So the first thing we want to mention is the Viewing the Heaven show at the Hale Planetarium. It's a constellation tour open to anybody, so come on out. It's Friday at 7 p.m. Should be an exciting time. Yeah, it
sounded really interesting. I have honestly not gotten to go to the planetarium enough, but I think like all the constellation and like star viewing, I just think that's...
Let's say anything at the planetarium, I think you want to come out to.
Literally, it's awesome. And then on the other end, another coming event, this was more in the arts kind of field. So the Symphonic Winds is returning to the Greaves Concert Hall. That will be on Thursday at 7 p.m. It's going to be led by the director of the bands, Dr. Nick Pilato, and that admission is totally free for students. So definitely come out to that as well. I know that those students are probably putting in a ton of work to perfecting their craft with that. So again, that is going to be a wind instrument concert on Thursday. All right, we're going to head off to our first commercial break. But when we come back, we'll take a look at what's happening around the community in headlines from Northern Kentucky.
And sports.
Yeah, softball and baseball recaps.
And then I'll be covering NKU basketball transfer portal news.
Nice. All right, so stick around. That's all coming up when we return here on The Northerner Now.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Smokey the Bear.
Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do.
What you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com, and remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D, that means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to The Northerner Now. I'm your host, Emily Sisk, and I am joined with my co-anchors, Alex Perez and Jacob Staley. And we're going to go ahead and kick off with what has been happening this week in headlines around the community.
Yeah, so the Flying Pig is coming up this weekend. Fox 19 reported that this will be the 26th annual marathon.
Hey.
A lot of marathons.
Yeah.
The race... The first race kicks off on Friday. Saturday will be the 5K and 10K races, and then Sunday is the marathon and the half marathon. So, a lot of running going on this weekend.
Yes.
So my question is, what would it take you guys to convince you to run a marathon?
Emily, you could tackle that first. If you want to.
It would take a lot. Let me tell you that. So a marathon is what? 20. Isn't it like 20-something miles?
Probably,
okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm about to literally look up.
I don't know if it's that far.
Hang on. It's like 13, isn't it? We're about to see.
It's like 13
Wait,
miles.
no. A marathon is 26 miles. So a half marathon will be 13. What on earth? No. Just,
no.
It would take a lot of money and conditions. Like, it would be okay if I walked for 9/10 of it, and that's about, it would take a lot of money as well.
Yeah, first a small miracle, but if we had that, then cardio, a lot of that, because I feel like even if I could, I would not want to do this.
We'd be like passing out. Like,
yeah, for sure.
After the first mile.
I go to the gym, and cardio is definitely not something I train. So, like you said, Emily, a lot of money. It would take a lot of money to convince me to do something like this.
Truly.
Because that sounds like a lot of pain.
Yeah. Jacob, would you be down to do a marathon?
I would have to train, but I think to be honest, I would do a half marathon. I would probably do a half marathon. I'm not a big cardio guy, so it's run or walk. I don't like jogging.
Yeah.
If
I really push myself, I could possibly do a 5K. That's about the max for me. Like, it would take years for me to get to that point.
If I get like a gold medal at the end, like
something.
If I'm like an Olympic champ, I think that would be worth it.
Yeah, it would have to be that at the least. Yeah.
For sure.
Well, keep on the lookout, guys, for the Flying Pig going on all weekend. And then in other news, U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell, he paid a visit to Northern Kentucky last week. He was at the CVG airport giving his perspective on tariffs. So just for reference, earlier this month, President Donald Trump enacted tariffs on essentially every country. They're at least 10% tariffs on every country that's importing things into the country. Some nations have an even higher rate than that, but it's at least 10%. And basically, Mitch McConnell, he is a Republican, but he doesn't agree. And he says, especially the state of Kentucky has a lot to lose from tariffs. He mentioned the bourbon industry because 95% of the world's bourbon specifically comes from Kentucky. And that has kind of basically stands the most to lose from the tariffs. So we've already kind of seen other countries like Canada is not putting like Kentucky bourbon or United States bourbon out on the shelves anymore because of the tariffs. So Mitch McConnell was there to give his whole perspective on that. So that was pretty big news for the region. And I'm going to turn it over to you all with your sports recap.
Yeah, so it was a solid week for baseball. They played 4 times this week, only picking up 2 games. The first game of the week came against Ohio University, as the Norse won huge, 13-3.
Wow.
Logan Davenport homered, had a home run. That's his 3rd straight. He finished 2 for 5 over the plate with a pair of RBIs. Gabe Miranda finished with a solo home run with an RBI, and then Marcus Harrison finished 2 for 2 over the plate and drawing 3 walks. So it was a pretty efficient day for them, and it was just an all-around great game. The next game came on Friday as they started a series against Oakland. They won 5-4, moving their win streak to 6. Nice. Despite going 0-4, Tyler Schoenfeld was key for the Norse. He drew a walk and stole home, so that solidified the win for them, which it was exciting. But after that game, it went downhill for the Norse. The next 2 games came against Oakland. Saturday was a 9-7 loss. Aaron Booster threw for 6 innings for the Norse, allowing 4 earned runs and 5 hits. Brendan Rowe finished 2 for 4 with a pair of RBIs and had a solo home run. And Marcus Harrison hit his 2nd home run of the year, which was good, but it was just a tight game all the way through. But Oakland figured out how to pull away. And then the last game of the week was a high-scoring game for the Norse, but they lost 16-10. Baseballs were flying over the fence. It was like it was a show. So all 9 Norse who started, they all recorded a hit. 5 of them recorded 2 hits. Jake Pollock finished 2 for 4 with a double and a home run. Nolan Sparks also had a home run, but the pitching, that's where they struggled. But they moved to 24-18 on the season, so they're sitting pretty nice right now.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Moving on to softball, they struggled this week, only picking up 1 game out of the 4. The first game of the week came against Dayton, where they won 3-2. Marley Gerald finished 1 for 2 at the plate and hit the game-winning RBI. NKU used all their pitchers, and they all did pretty well, striking out multiple batters and pitched scoreless innings. But after that win, they lost 3 straight to Purdue Fort Wayne, which was kind of disappointing. The first game was a 9-8 loss. The Norse recorded 9 hits. It was a close game all the way through, but again, Purdue Fort Wayne came back and to win late. And then the last 2 games were doubleheader, with them both losing 6-5 and 3-1. The first game was like their last game, where Purdue Fort Wayne, they pulled away late, and the Norse offense recorded 10 hits but 0 walks. 4 Norse recorded multiple hits, so it was a good hitting day. It was just, again, the pitching was just, I guess, not as great. And then the final game of the week came against, again, Purdue Fort Wayne, where Brooklyn Bayless, pitched all 6 innings for the Norse, allowing 6 hits and no walks. And she was like the highlight of that game. But they moved to 21-24 on the season, so they're sitting kind of low, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention about baseball while we're talking about it. They do go to Knoxville today, so that'll be interesting to see how they fare against the top 25 team.
Yeah.
You all can check that out on the Northern YouTube. There will be a radio call for that. And then the other thing was Jonah Moore. He had a story in this magazine that was with the special assistant to the head coach, Ryan Mavropoulos, and they call him Mav. So it's a great story that you all should definitely be checking out.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And then moving to basketball, the transfer portal has closed, but the stories have not.
Yeah.
There's really no timetable on when people have to make their decision, as long as they enter the transfer portal by the date, and everybody has the 1 to 2. So Madison French from women's basketball made her decision. She's going to Findlay College after her time here at NKU, so we wish her the best. And then men's basketball picked up Addison Archer, a JUCO college commit from Ranger College out of Texas. He averaged 9 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 block. So a very impressive stat line for him. 56% from the field and 84% from the free throw line as well. So another efficient scorer that they could definitely use. And then Darren Horn just said he is a lob threat who grabs the ball at a high rate. Two things that we will definitely need with Keena Tidre headed to Rhode Island. And then that's something we struggled with last season anyways, was rebounding. So we haven't really been good at that since Chris Brandon was on the team a couple of years ago. So so that'll be good to have a good rebounder who is also a lob threat. So somebody dynamic on both sides of the basketball. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you guys for that update. We're going to head to our final commercial break of the show, but when we come back, we'll take you through what's been happening in arts and life, and we will be joined with Adeline McCollum. You won't want to miss it.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding a unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone, or just taking a deep, calming breath to ground yourself. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. The Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council have resources available for you at loveyourmindtoday.org.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
And we are back here on The Northerner Now. Again, I'm Emily Sisk, joined with Alex Perez and our new face that you haven't seen yet for this show, Adeline McCollum.
Hi, guys.
All right, so we're going to jump into a little fun for our this or that question of the day. My question for y'all is, which mascot, Victor E. Viking or the historic famed Hey You, who was basically like a dragon, essentially?
Okay. I think for me, I love Victor. He's iconic, but just more of a dragon guy myself. So
really?
I think I would go with Hey You in this
You think
situation.
It fits NKU better?
I think so, yeah.
I think it does. I feel like NKU is kind of like a hidden gem in a way. And I don't know, I feel like a dragon's kind of more iconic. And he has this cute little helmet. Like, I feel like they should bring them both back. Like, maybe Victor has a pet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the shirts and stuff I've seen with Hey You on it
are very cool.
So cute.
It's very unique.
It is.
Like, I don't know a lot of other people have Vikings like that's. I get that also Hey You like with Loch Norse, like he's a dragon, like but then I also get that we are the Norse, so Vikings kind of makes sense too. I think I would go with Hey You as well.
Yeah,
Bring it
he's
back.
Just so cute.
And there's something about nostalgia too that I just appreciate. So, all right, well that was our little this or that, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Addie, to take a look back at the Northerner history.
Okay, guys, I am very excited for this article. I thought it was so fun. I wanted to choose something to touch on that was just like lighthearted fun to finish out the semester. So it's about a new, at the time, a new campus club that marched to battle on Griffin Lawn. So on April 24th, 2014, it was written by staff writer Mark Kennedy. So this is like the tagline that opens the article, and I thought this was super fun, so I'm going to read it. The sounds of foam swords and shields clanking together might not be as intimidating as an actual metal weapons, but that hasn't stopped two students from forming their own unique group that involves full-fledged battling on the center of front of Griffin Lawn.
Full-fledged battling. All right.
Yeah. So it was started by two freshmen, Jared Kushel and freshman Ryan Keelam. So they the two assembled like paperwork because apparently you had to apply to be like a part of this. It's called Dragahir. I don't know. It's official live action role playing of LARPing, which focuses on athleticism, the sport of the game, rather than like character and costume development. So basically, essentially, to sum it up, like very, I don't know, blankly, it's like big foam swords and like battling and like giant blowing up like hammers and stuff. And I just thought, how fun! Like if I watched that happen on campus, like I'd definitely be cheering them on. Like that's hilarious. Sure. We have the NKU has their official chapter, and it was named after the Norse themed mascot. So it was named after Victor, or the Norse Vikings, which I thought was really interesting. One of their members, Stephen Middlemas, he like joined the club, and he said that gaming clubs helped him overcome challenging situations that he experienced throughout college. And it was a great way to mix with people and develop friendships, he said, and he hopes that people approach the sport with more of an open mind. It is considered actually a sport, and it's like a sport club, which I thought was something really interesting. And it's just a great way for people to like get active, get together, and just have a bunch of fun time with some foam swords. So I thought it was hilarious. You guys should definitely go check it out.
I'd like to do some play-by-play on
that.
It's
back. Really funny. Oh yes, I think that would be hilarious.
Seriously.
So I definitely recommend reading the article because it made me laugh and smile. So
very fun. Thank you, Addie, for that little flashback. Love it. All right, and then just to wrap up our show, we're going to take a look at what's happening in arts and life. We could not go without mentioning Jesus Christ Superstar, which is running now until May 4th. That's in the Corbett Theatre, and our Jillian Coles got to sit down with stars of the show and the director to hear all about the work that's gone into that.
Yeah, it was a very interesting story to hear the contrasting experience of the actors. She talked with Isaiah Burton, who plays Jesus, and then Bodie Moore, who plays Judas. One of my favorite quotes was of Bodie talking about how he and Isaiah are really close in real life, and Isaiah is such a kind person. And then in their roles, they're enemies, and he basically has to hate them. So it's just interesting to see how that contrast is different.
100%. I can imagine, just knowing each other personally. That's just being an actor, though. Like, knowing each other personally, and, like, those opposing enemy roles. I'm like, man, that would be really hard. So this show is the second time that Jesus Christ Superstar has come to NKU. The first one was actually back in 2004. And then, so like we talked about, I think we mentioned it last week, but in 2004, the guy who played Jesus went on to play that same role on Broadway, which is still really awesome. But they kind of talked about how, it's kind of a little bit of pressure to be like, okay, you need to do a good enough job that maybe you could go on Broadway one day. But I'm sure the opportunity of just knowing that is really awesome. Yeah. So, and then just to drop one little more mention, whoever wants to talk about our little summer blockbusters column, go right ahead.
Yeah, we talked about some summer movies in our April magazine as well. Our video editor, Jameson Howard, with his article debut. So that was very awesome. He broke down his prediction on the top performing movies of the season. In the number 3 spot is Jurassic World Rebirth. The best Jameson quote for sure from his column is he thinks it may be time for the Jurassic franchise to stop beating a dead dinosaur.
Oh, gosh.
So I just have to ask, do we agree? Have we seen the movie?
Literally have never even seen him.
I've seen one, and I remember being young and being scared, but I just feel like I keep hearing Jurassic Park, and I just don't feel like there needs to be more.
I just feel like it's become a lot like the Fast and the Furious franchise where we've done enough.
Right. Let it have its legacy. Quit trying to take our money.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree.
Then number 2 was the live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon. But he pointed out that the original is not that old. It came out in 2010. So to hear about his number 1 pick, you have to take a look at the magazine.
Yes. Yeah, I love his number 1 pick is a very good one that I'm actually very excited for. So y'all need to go give that a read and see what his pick was. And we are going to have to wrap up for this week's edition of The Northerner Now. But as a reminder, feel free to go check out these beautiful magazines anywhere on campus and visit thenortherner.com to read more stories. And to sign off, I'm Emily Sisk.
I'm Alex Perez.
And I'm Adeline McCall.
And we will see you next time on The Northerner Now.